If you are driving a Chevy Silverado, Tahoe, Suburban, or Sierra with the 5.3-liter V8, there are 7 factory default settings active in your truck right now that are slowly destroying the internals of that engine. You did not turn them on. You probably do not even know they exist. General Motors enabled every single one of them before your truck ever left the assembly line, and not one of them was designed to make your engine last longer. They were designed to help General Motors hit government fuel economy targets. I have been a mechanic for over 20 years, and the 5.3-liter is one of the most common engines I work on. Today, I am going to walk you through all 7 and show you exactly what to do about each one. I am saving the worst for last because that one setting alone is responsible for more catastrophic 5.3-liter failures than anything else I see in my shop. Let us get into it. Setting number 1 is the one hiding behind every modern drive mode screen in your Chevy, and most owners use it every single day without realizing what it is doing under the hood. I am talking about Eco mode. When you select Eco on your Silverado or Tahoe, you think you are just saving a little gas. What is actually happening is far more aggressive than that. Eco mode remaps your throttle response, forces earlier upshifts, and most critically, it tells the engine management system to keep your 5.3-liter running on 4 cylinders instead of 8 for as long as physically possible. That means the system responsible for deactivating half your cylinders, which I'm going to get into in detail later, stays active longer and more frequently in Eco than in any other drive mode. Every additional second your engine spends running on 4 cylinders instead of 8 is another second of uneven loading, abnormal oil pressure distribution, and accelerated wear on the components that keep those deactivated cylinders sealed. A customer brought me his 2019 Silverado LT last fall with 94,000 miles. He drove in Eco mode every single day because his wife told him it saved gas. His lifters had collapsed on cylinder 6. The repair bill was $4,200. The gas he saved over the life of the truck was maybe $600. Turn Eco mode off. Leave your truck in normal or sport. The fuel economy difference between normal and Eco on a 5.3-liter is roughly 1 mile per gallon in real-world driving. That is not worth the damage it causes. Setting number 2 is one that resets itself every single time you start your truck, and it drives Chevy owners insane. Auto stop start turns off your 5.3 engine every time you pull up to a red light. Oil pressure drops to 0, the crankshaft stops spinning, and the starter fires the engine back to life from a dead stop. GM says this saves fuel, and technically it does, around 3 to 4% in heavy city driving. But what they do not tell you is that the vast majority of engine wear happens during startup, not during operation. Every restart cycle puts stress on your main bearings, your rod bearings, and your oil pump. In stop and go driving, your 5.3 can cycle through 30 or more restarts in a single commute. Over the course of a year, that adds the equivalent of thousands of extra startup events to your engine. On most Chevrolet trucks, you can press the Auto Stop Start Disable button on the center console every time you start the truck, but the system resets each time you turn the key. If you are tired of pressing that button every single morning, a simple OBD2 plug-in module for under $30 remembers your preference permanently. No wiring, no modifications, just plug it in and the system stays off. Your engine will thank you at 200,000 miles when those bearings are still tight. Setting number 3 is the one most owners trust completely without ever questioning it. It is quietly letting your oil break down past the point of protecting anything. I'm talking about the GM Oil Life Monitor. The oil life system in your 5.3 liter uses an algorithm based on RPM, temperature, and driving conditions to estimate when your oil needs changing. In theory, it is smart. In practice, it routinely stretches oil change intervals to 7,500 and sometimes 9,000 miles. That would be fine in a naturally aspirated engine with no cylinder deactivation. But the 5.3-liter engine with active fuel management is not a normal engine. When cylinders deactivate, unburned fuel vapors slip past the rings and dilute your oil. That dilution thins the oil and reduces its ability to protect critical surfaces, especially the lifter bores and the VLOM solenoids. I changed the oil on a 2020 Tahoe RST last month at the Oil Life Monitor recommended interval of 42% remaining, just to show the owner what was happening. The oil on the dipstick was thin, dark, and smelled like gasoline at 42% life remaining. If he had waited until the monitor said 0, that oil would have been closer to solvent than lubricant. Stop trusting the Oil Life Monitor on a 5.3 liter with active fuel management. Change your oil every 5,000 miles or every 6 months, whichever comes first, and use a quality full synthetic. The extra $30 per year in oil changes is cheap insurance against a $5,000 lifter job. Setting number 4 is one that most Chevy truck owners never think about because GM told them they would never need to. I am talking about the transmission fluid. GM officially calls the 8L90 and 10L80 transmissions sealed units with lifetime fluid. There is no dipstick from the factory. The message is clear. Do not touch it, do not check it, do not change it. That designation is one of the most destructive lies in the modern automotive industry. Transmission fluid breaks down with heat and age. The 5.3-liter engine paired with the 8-speed or 10-speed automatic generates significant heat under towing, hauling, or even sustained highway driving in warm climates. By 80,000 miles, that so-called lifetime fluid has lost a measurable percentage of its friction modification properties. Shift quality degrades, internal clutch packs wear faster, and the torque converter starts generating even more heat because the fluid can no longer do its job. I have pulled transmission pans at 100,000 miles on trucks where the fluid was never changed and found metallic sludge coating the bottom of the pan and packed into the filter. Change your transmission fluid every 60,000 miles, regardless of what GM tells you. A fluid and filter service runs about $250 to $350 at an independent shop. A rebuilt 10-speed transmission runs $4,500 to $6,500 installed. You do the math. If this kind of straight talk is saving you money, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. I put out videos like this every single week, breaking down the things dealerships will never tell you. Drop a comment below and let me know which 5.3 liter you are driving. I read every single one. Now, let us keep going because the last 3 are the ones doing the most damage. Setting number 5 is one that a lot of owners only discover after they have already caused a problem. Tow haul mode, or more accurately, the failure to use it. When you tow a trailer, haul a heavy load in the bed, or pull a boat up a ramp without engaging tow haul, your transmission stays in its default shift programming. That programming was calibrated for an unloaded truck. It upshifts early, it hunts between gears on inclines, and it lets the torque converter unlock at exactly the wrong moments. Every time the transmission hunts between 6th and 7th gear on a grade with 5,000 pounds behind you, the clutch packs inside that transmission are slipping, generating heat and wearing down material that does not grow back. Meanwhile, your 5.3-liter engine is lugging at low RPM, trying to pull a load it was never calibrated to pull in that gear. Tow haul mode changes everything. It holds gears longer, locks the torque converter earlier, and uses engine braking on downhill grades. It was specifically engineered to protect both the engine and the transmission under load. I had a customer last year with a 2021 Silverado who towed a 6,000-pound travel trailer for 2 years without ever pressing the tow haul button. He did not even know it existed. By the time he came to me, the transmission was slipping between third and fourth gear, and the fluid looked like coffee. He needed a full transmission rebuild at 71,000 miles. If you tow anything, press that button every single time. It is not optional. It is the difference between a transmission that lasts 200,000 miles and one that dies before 100,000. Setting number 6 is something most owners encounter once and handle incorrectly, and the damage shows up weeks later in ways they never connect back to the original event. I'm talking about what happens after a battery disconnect. When you replace your battery or disconnect it for any reason, the powertrain control module, the PCM, loses its adaptive shift tables, idle calibration, and fuel trim data. Those learned values took thousands of miles of driving to develop. When they are wiped, the PCM reverts to factory baseline parameters that are intentionally conservative and imprecise. The transmission shifts hard, the idle surges or drops too low, and the fuel trims run rich, while the computer tries to relearn everything from scratch. Most owners just drive through it and assume the truck will figure itself out. It will eventually, but during that relearn period, the harsh shifts and erratic idle put unnecessary stress on your drivetrain. After any battery disconnect, perform a proper idle relearn. Start the engine cold, let it idle and park for 5 full minutes without touching anything, then drive gently for 15 to 20 minutes with moderate acceleration and light braking. This gives the PCM clean data to rebuild its tables instead of forcing it to learn from aggressive driving that programs harsh shift points permanently. And now setting number 7, the single most destructive factory default in the entire 5.3-liter platform, and the one responsible for more engine failures, more class action lawsuits, and more catastrophic repair bills than every other setting on this list combined. Active fuel management, called AFM, and on newer models called dynamic fuel management, or DFM. This is the system that deactivates 4 of the 8 cylinders under light load to save fuel. General Motors has been installing this on the 5.3-liter since 2005, and mechanics have been replacing lifters because of it for almost as long. Here is what happens mechanically. When a cylinder deactivates, a solenoid inside the valve lifter oil manifold, called the VLOM, locks the lifter in a collapsed position so the valve stays closed. When the cylinder reactivates, oil pressure pushes the lifter back into position. This cycling happens hundreds of times per hour during normal driving. Over time, the lifter bores wear, the solenoids fatigue, and the lifters themselves begin to collapse or stick in the deactivated position. When a lifter collapses, it hammers into the camshaft lobe. That lobe gets wiped flat. Now you need lifters and a camshaft. On some trucks, the debris gets into the oil system and scores the cylinder walls. Now you need an engine. I am not exaggerating. I do this repair at least twice a month. The average cost for a full AFM lifter and cam replacement on a 5.3-liter in my shop is between $4,000 and $5,500, depending on the damage. I have seen complete engine replacements exceed $9,000. A quality AFM disabler module plugs into the OBD2 port and keeps all 8 cylinders firing at all times. They cost between $250 and $400. Some owners go further and get a custom tune that permanently deletes AFM from the engine calibration. Either option eliminates the single biggest failure point on the 5.3-liter platform. Your fuel economy might drop by 1 mile per gallon. Your engine might last an extra 150,000 miles. That trade-off is not even close. So there it is. 7 factory settings on the 5.3-liter Chevy are actively working against the longevity of your engine and transmission. Eco mode, pushing cylinder deactivation harder than it needs to. Auto stop start, cycling your engine through unnecessary restarts. The oil life monitor, stretching service intervals past what diluted oil can handle. Lifetime transmission fluid, which is anything but lifetime. Tow haul mode, left unused while your transmission cooks itself. A PCM relearn process that most owners skip entirely. And active fuel management, the single biggest reliability problem GM has ever engineered into a production truck. Fix all 7 of these and your 5.3-liter engine has a legitimate shot at 300,000 miles. Ignore them and you are looking at a repair bill that costs more than some of these trucks are worth. If you want to see the 5 cheap mods that will actually make your 5.3-liter engine last longer than it has any right to, I made a video on that. It is right here. 20 years of pulling wrenches has taught me that the trucks that go the distance are the ones owned by people who pay attention to what their truck is telling them. Like this, if it helped, subscribe for more honest truck advice. I will see you in the next one. Drive safe, take care of your truck, and it will take care of you.